Katie Price. Bankruptcy? Balls to that. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Katie Price. Human train wreck. A woman who became famous as a consequence of having massive boobs and lots of boyfriends, and ever since has demonstrated the complete car crash train wreck nature of her life as she lurches from one disaster to another. Fading looks, ridiculous plastic surgery, arguments with lovers and boyfriends, another marriage, another divorce, fallout with people, repeated failures to make payment, bankruptcies, eviction from her property. She lurches from one disaster to another as a consequence of the haphazard way that her narcissism functions. She's entitled to do what she wants. Thus, she'll sleep with whoever she chooses. She's not accountable for her behaviours. Thus, she fails to pay for things. She speeds. She drives recklessly. She doesn't conduct her finances in a sensible fashion, so she ends up being made bankrupt and waltzes away, going on holidays and looking for the next deal. An individual who it wouldn't surprise you to hear is an upper lesser type A somatic, known as the affable arsehole, an individual that has about as much depth as a layer of nail varnish on a nail. She is entirely superficial. On the face of it, an individual who is not necessarily nasty to people. Yes, she's had a few spats with individuals, although it might be said that that's simply a response to the way that people have spoken about her, rather than her necessarily going on the attack first. But she lurches through life without any form of accountability. She's completely unreliable. She is interested always in the now, a complete hedonist, a somatic with regard to the chasing of money, looks, the use of plastic surgery, the numerous sexual partners that she's had, the way that she talks about her sexual activity with those individuals as if she was discussing the weather with you over the garden gate. And once again, her narcissism is writ large with another chapter in the ridiculous life of Katie Price, who really is a prime example of the narcissist in action. As reported by the Daily Telegraph, Katie Price went to Turkey instead of attending bankruptcy hearing. Some narcissists will attend court. The reason that they do so is that their narcissism recognises that a failure to do so would create an even larger threat to control. Therefore, they submit to the jurisdiction of the court. It might be, of course, to deny the charge, defend the claim that's brought against them, issue a plea of not guilty. In other instances, the narcissist will plead guilty, not because they genuinely recognise that they've done wrong, but simply because their narcissism identifies that issuing a guilty plea means that they may be less likely to be sent to prison, or if they are, they will serve less of a prison sentence, and therefore that choice as against a heftier prison sentence through a not guilty plea is preferable. There are, of course, many instances where a narcissist who is plainly guilty insists on pleading not guilty because their narcissism, their particular type of narcissism, leads them in that direction. Thus, certain narcissists do turn up and face the music, driven, again, by their narcissism as utilising the court process as a stage for which they can then claim their victimhood. I've been sued and it's not my fault. This is a witch hunt against me. It's all fabrication. It's the Matrix that's after me. And in some instances, the narcissist will not bother with court because their lack of accountability tells them, I don't have to go and account to the court for my behaviour. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm just not going. And it's a nullification of a threat to control through withdrawal. As you know, there are 3 assertions of control in relation to the behaviour of the narcissist: direct, indirect, and withdrawal. In relation to withdrawal, there are 2 types: passive and active. Active withdrawal is where the narcissist walks away from you when you're talking to them, puts the phone down on you, or doesn't respond to a text message. Passive withdrawal is where the narcissist isn't actually dealing with you direct, but you're on their radar, For instance, the narcissist might be thinking about you, or is talking about you with somebody else because that person has brought your name up. And they stay in a position of withdrawal rather than engaging with you, and jettison the thought or the conversation in order to assert control. Here, Katie Price has activated active control for the purposes of nullifying threat to control posed by a bankruptcy hearing. The report states, a judge has issued an arrest warrant for former glamour model Katie Price after she failed to attend a hearing relating to her bankruptcies and may have instead travelled to Turkey. Price, who was declared bankrupt in 2019 in November and again in March 2024, was due to face questions about her finances before a specialist bankruptcy court in London. Threat to control, scrutiny, accountability. Catherine Burton, an insolvency and companies court judge, said Price had received very clear warnings that she must attend the hearing on Tuesday. A judge at a previous hearing said the former glamour model risked arrest if she did not attend further court dates, adding that evidence must be provided if she could not appear. However, the court heard it had been reported that Price had travelled to Turkey with a now-deleted Instagram story showing what happened to be her eating a crisp sandwich, classy, on a flight. Now, pausing there. Many people that would read about Katie Price would think to themselves, so she's got to appear in court, she's been made bankrupt, and she pisses off on holiday, on a flight to Turkey. Maybe she's going to get some more work done, or she is enjoying some time in the sunshine. Why on earth is she doing that, and how can she afford to do it when she's supposedly bankrupt? The answer, of course, is her narcissism. She's not attending because attendance is a threat to her control, so she doesn't go. Driven by a sense of entitlement, her narcissism tells her she can go and do what she wants instead. She simply does not accept the gravity of the situation because of the way that her brain has been wired by her narcissism. How is it that she's able to afford the trip? Well, again, she will have access to funds which she probably hasn't accounted for because of her lack of accountability and her sense of entitlement. So as people sit there scratching their heads thinking, why on earth isn't she going to court? Why on earth has she disappeared off to Turkey? You get the answer by understanding her narcissism. By knowing that it is her narcissism that drives her behaviour, it provides you with the answer. Issuing the arrest warrant, Judge Burton said Price had failed to attend today's hearing and had provided no explanation for her absence, sense of entitlement, lack of accountability. She said, "It is, in my judgment, necessary that the court issues a warrant for Miss Price's arrest. She has no real excuse in failing to attend today's hearing." She continued, "The reason for her absence today is irrelevant." Judge Burton said that an arrest warrant was not issued lightly, but that Price had offered only piecemeal cooperation and failed to provide the most basic information in relation to her bankruptcies. Pausing there, once again, you get to see the behaviour of a narcissist whereby, in the moment, she doesn't turn up for court, so what is the collateral consequence? There's an arrest warrant issued, and she's reported in the media as to, once again, her failure to attend a hearing. At a hearing in February, Price was ordered to pay 40% of her monthly income from the adult entertainment website OnlyFans to the trustee for the next 3 years in relation to her first bankruptcy. Thus, part of her assets are being taken in order to pay towards her bankruptcy, which of course is a threat to control, and she will not like that. She was then declared bankrupt for a second time in March due to an unpaid tax bill worth more than £750,000 owed to HM Revenue and Customs. In October last year, Price said she was fed up with being threatened with legal action. Notice she doesn't recognise that she has any accountability, that the legal action is as a consequence of her own fault and behaviour. She said she'd go to prison to be done with it all. She was due to face questions on Tuesday related to her finances at a hearing known as a public examination, with barrister Dara Connell for the trustee telling the court in written submissions that there remains significant information missing as regard the bankrupt's income and asset position. Ordinarily, when a person is made bankrupt in the United Kingdom, they have to attend an appointment with the Insolvency Service, and at that, they are obliged to provide all information as to any assets that they have, any form of income they have, and to go through who they owe money to. This ought to be done in a truthful fashion. But of course, once again, demonstrating her sense of entitlement and a failure to account, she has not been forthright in the provision of this information. Speaking in court, the barrister stated that the trustee did not have any information as to her whereabouts, adding that Miss Price would not be kept in custody for a long period of time, but would be detained to secure her attendance at a future hearing. He said, "Her liberty is on the line, but unfortunately we are at the end of the road in relation to this matter." Mr. Connell said in written arguments that the application for Price to attend was first issued in January 2020, but had been adjourned on numerous occasions. Watch my video about why the narcissist uses delay against you. He continued that Price had not asked to attend Tuesday's hearing remotely and had not asked for it to be adjourned. She just basically pissed off, showing that she doesn't give the court any due regard. The hearing was also due to hear an application by the trustee related to Price's vehicles. He continued that Price had indicated she would deliver some of her vehicles to the trustee as she worked to pay off the balance of her bankruptcies, including her pink Range Rover, which has borne a personalised registration plate with the initials of the bankrupt. But the court was told this had not happened. Again, another failure of accountability, with Mr. Connell stating it was plain that the vehicles will not be delivered up by the bankrupt. A classic example of a narcissist who doesn't give two shits about her obligations and accountabilities. That she doesn't pay when she's obligated to pay, and then when she's made bankrupt, she doesn't participate in the bankruptcy in any meaningful fashion, resulting in her clearing off in order to nullify the threat to control, and then finding herself the subject of a bench warrant issued for her arrest. A classic example of the superficiality, the lack of accountability, the sense of entitlement, the absence of emotional empathy that she has for those affected by her behaviour. She just flits about doing what she wants, getting out her boobs on OnlyFans, making some money, but not accounting for her income. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.